Hey everyone, it's Dr. Rick, founder of Herbal 411. I wanted to review a book by Chris Palmer, a physician, psychiatrist out of Harvard. Brain energy is a fantastic application for actionable ideas to reverse and decrease the symptoms of mental illness. This is not meant to be a substitute for medical advice. This is just my summary, but I think if you're one of my patients, contact me so we can start making changes. There's no simplistic way to take care of disease, whether it's mood disorder, seizures, metabolic syndrome. It's sometimes it's easy and important to take care of your symptoms immediately with medicines. Medicines are simple. They shouldn't be permanent. It takes a deep dive into a root cause analysis to figure out, okay, what's the metabolism issue that blossomed the symptoms or the disease, and what are the mitochondrial dysfunctions that brain energy is metabolism and mitochondria have to be addressed in trying to reverse disease and make yourself feel better. The idea we should first talk about is mitochondria, and I've spoken about this in a couple of different videos, and the data is real. It's randomized controlled trials and animals and humans. So that deep dive is too much to discuss in a wellness exam. So you might have to read a little bit on your own and then go back and ask your doc. But these things called mitochondria are the powerhouses of our body. Every cell has mitochondria. You have to produce energy, whether it's nerve tissue to fire an impulse and a thought or a mood, or it's digestive tissue to make enzymes, it's muscle to move, glands to make hormones. The basic premise of this mitochondria is that you have fuel in the form of creatine, glucose, and fat, gets eaten, digested, gets assimilated, and sent out to cells. The cells pick up the substances in the bloodstream and they take them in. It presents it to this organelle called the mitochondria, this powerhouse, and the powerhouse will utilize that to form ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That's your energy. When you go through this process, you'll have reactive oxygen species. That's the byproducts of making fuel, kind of like your car. When you drive it, you put gasoline in, and then the gasoline powers the engine, it moves the pistons, and then it spits out exhaust, carbon monoxide, and a couple other byproducts of fuel. You can't just spew out carbon and carbon monoxide from a gas engine, or else you'll kill the environment and you kill yourself. This thing, if it's functioning properly, has its ways to produce enough energy for the entirety of your life, hopefully 100 years, and not have any diseases. But the problem is, if you have not enough fuel, or the wrong fuel sources, or if you have too much of an oxidative stress, you produce too much ROS, reactive oxygen species, you can make the fuel, but this stuff will kill you, or this stuff will cause the dysfunction of this beautiful powerhouse. So that's how mitochondria work, and that's how it's supposed to go. And the reasons that this doesn't go for a lifetime and presents as disease is this: metabolism. Think of it as a traffic. He explained it in his book as your metabolism's the traffic and the mitochondria are the drivers. The drivers can be dysfunctional or right on. If the metabolism or the traffic is screwed up, then nothing's going to work right. These two things are involved with stabilizing an average person. Metabolism can be affected by toxic relationships, immobility, and intentional sedentary life, poor choices as far as food, too much sugar, too much volume, eating late at night, no spiritual practice. There's those 4 pillars I always talk about: nutrition, activity, sleep, and then spirituality. If you look into the blue zones, it's important to have those things balanced. If you don't, you have metabolism problems. Whether it's a smooth road, a bumpy road, a hill going up, or a hill going down, the idea is you fix your metabolism as best as possible and you try to fine-tune your mitochondria. You have to have tests. You can kind of wing it with old school and figure out, okay, this person sounds like they have depression, and the timeline says it started around the time of COVID, a problem when they were growing up, so maybe it'll be the root cause and fix it. Now, that takes time to figure all that stuff out just with questions and answers. If you don't have time, or if you don't have a doctor that has the time for you, then sometimes you can shortcut it by either ordering your own tests, like acetyl-L-carnitine, coenzyme Q10, sometimes melatonin in the morning. Sometimes you can check hormones, you can check by vitamin deficiencies, you can check for parasites, you can check for autoimmune disease. All these things are data points that will bring you to a conclusion of what the problem is, either metabolically or what the problem is functionally with the mitochondria. And if you don't have a doctor that is giving you time, or you have a doctor that is refusing to entertain root cause analysis, please come and join me. My clinic is in Hoffman Estates. I'll put the link in the description, but I also do virtuals from around the world. Hopefully I or other functional medicine, integrative medicine doctors can help. With mood disorder, you need medicines to take care of and dampen symptoms. But again, it's not a simplistic answer. You can hopefully identify the metabolism issue and try to correct it. Find a way out. You have to find a way to heal yourself, and that's with psychology. That's with talk therapy, DBT or CBT or EMDR. All these things are techniques that have been devised to help people move through their old processing. So if you have coping skills that you learned from your parents or from your teachers and they're not enough, you have to learn new coping skills. I don't care how old you are and how high a level of education you have. Sometimes if you use old techniques to apply to new problems, you'll have the same results. Is identify the causes that are imbalanced, and it might be very obvious, it might not, and then also get the data points that'll tell you if you do have mitochondrial dysfunction. It's fixing your food, fixing your timing, fixing your gut microbiome is important, and then trying to control your response to external environments. When people say, what do you do to reduce stress? Sometimes you can just move away from whatever is stressful. You can't control the flow of traffic, so you control how you drive in traffic. So if you can't control that hurricane around you, you control how you react to it. And that's where it takes coping skills, and get yourself a good team, get yourself a good head coach, and hopefully that will help with the behavioral part. A nutritionist is very important to walk you through. I know I have a lot of guys that say, just tell me what to eat and I'll eat it. But it's not that simple. Your metabolism will change. To initiate a treatment plan is one thing. To wait for the adaptation that your body kicks in, your body will try to adapt to it and get back to its set point. And then to maintain that, they're all different stages, but it's important. And I think Palmer, he reviews it and he outlines it in his book. It's such an easy read. And if you can get your team to help you move through life, figure out what the metabolic imbalance is, initiate a couple of new treatment plans, stick with the treatment plan for 3 months, and see what happens. I like to only do one variable or change one variable at a time. People want to say, I want my thyroid taken care of right now. And if I give a medicine, that's fair. But you have to wait 2.5 to 3 months to recheck levels to see if the medicine is working. Can we do things all at the same time? We can, but you have to be patient. That's sometimes going to be a learned procedure as well. Have the knowledge that you can move through and change a couple things, but it will take a little bit of root cause analysis and a little bit of patience and a little bit of smart implementing these actionable ideas to see if you can change the outcome. And yeah, some cholesterol medicines, some calcium channel blockers, high blood pressure medicines, definitely some mood disorder medicines can help with the symptoms, but they might harm the mitochondria. So you have to balance things out. It's very orchestrated and difficult forest to get through, but if you have a team that can give you a map out of the forest and help you along at every fork in the road, I think it would be optimizing your success. So please consider at least reading the book. If you do have depression, if you are on 3 different medicines for depression and nothing works and it keeps on cranking up by your doctor, I think that's fair, but it might mean that there's other things to investigate. But at least you can have a way out and a direction. If you think about the options that Palmer talks about in his book as far as fixing metabolism, he usually defaults to a ketogenic lifestyle, meaning a low carbohydrate practice. And I think usually it's going to be the biggest nugget that you can do on your own. And I'm on that now. And I got to tell you, that in addition to me fixing the mitochondria and pulling back on a lot of vitamins is making me think through. I mean, I read this in one day. And I usually can't read like that, but definitely get rid of sugar, table sugar that you can see white, or invisible sugar that you'll have to read on labels. You have to look. Any sugar is not good, but you have to, if you can't cook, I think you're a prisoner to what you have to buy, but learn how to cook. So you see, this is a very complicated web of things to consider. If you can move away from sugar, decrease total volume, maybe lower your carbohydrates, because most of us, 50% of Americans are overweight. So that usually means a metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, sticky blood. And if you just lower your carbohydrates, get into a ketotic-like practice, I mean, the human body is very flexible. and life changes. So regardless of what is thrown at you and the traffic pattern, going back to the analogy of Palmer and the metabolism being the traffic flow, if you try to do the best with fixing metabolism, maybe architecting a 3 to 6 month plan to get healthy, implementing it, not being frustrated, but being patient, because it's going to hurt. You're not going to be able to eat as much as everybody else. You're not going to be able to eat the stuff you ate before, but just try to implement, adapt, maintain. And if you can't maintain, then redo the plan. But if you keep on chewing away at the metabolic healthiness of being an athlete again, I call it patient athlete, and at the same time, controlling some of the crap that happens with mitochondria, improving the acetyl-L-carnitine or the CoQ10 or the melatonin that is involved here, or fixing a couple other things. I think you can move forward with both metabolism, the traffic flow, and controlling your reaction to the traffic, and then the way the energy is being produced. I think you'll be better, more sane, have less symptoms of your mood disorder, even move forward and get rid of diabetes, high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, and maybe other diseases, manifestations, joint pain. So hopefully this gives you a couple of ideas. If you have any comments on how you've implemented a nutritional change or what you thought about with reading Chris Palmer's book, put them in the comments down below. Give this to other people and a thumbs up if they had benefit, and I'll see you at the next video.